Urgent question, Jeremy Corbyn.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My urgent question is to ask the Prime Minister if he will make a statement on the recent apparent breaches of the ministerial code and whether he intends to refer the matter to the Cabinet Office for further investigation.
Secretary of State.
Mr. Speaker, on Saturday the 29th of February, the Cabinet Secretary and Head of the Civil Service received and accepted the resignation of Sir Philip Rutnam as Permanent Secretary at the Home Office. On the same day, the Cabinet Secretary announced that Shona Dunn, then the second Permanent Secretary at the Home Office responsible for borders, immigration and citizenship, would become acting Permanent Secretary with immediate effect. Allegations have been made that the Home Secretary has breached the ministerial code. The Home Secretary absolutely rejects these allegations. The Prime Minister has expressed his full confidence in her, and having worked closely with the Home Secretary over a number of years, I have the highest regard for her. She is a superb minister doing a great job. Mr. Speaker, this government always takes any complaints relating to the ministerial code seriously, and in line with the process set out in the ministerial code, the Prime Minister has asked the Cabinet Office to establish the facts. As is usual, the independent adviser on ministerial interests, Sir Alex Allen, is available to provide advice to the Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, it is a long-standing government policy not to comment on individual personnel matters in order to protect the rights of all involved. What I can and will say is that I know that the dedicated ministerial team at the Home Office and their superb civil servants will continue their critical work on the public's behalf, keeping our country protected from the terror threat, bearing down on the criminals who seek to do our communities and our country harm, and delivering a fair, firm immigration system that works in the interests of the British people. The Home Office works tirelessly to keep our citizens safe and our country secure, and we all stand behind the team leading that vital work.
Mr. Speaker, I'm grateful to you for granting this urgent question, and I thank the Right Honourable Gentleman for his reply. But my question was actually to the Prime Minister. Could we have an answer as to where the Prime Minister is this afternoon? When an urgent question is granted to the Prime Minister, one would expect the Prime Minister to come to this House to answer the question that's being put to him. It is, Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister's job to oversee the ministerial code. If the serious allegations raised by the Permanent Secretary at the Home Office, Sir Philip Rutnam, about the Home Secretary's conduct are true, including, and I quote, shouting and swearing, belittling people, making unreasonable and repeated demands, then that would clearly constitute a breach of the ministerial code. The Prime Minister himself, in his foreword to the code, said there must be no bullying and no harassment. His words, his foreword to the ministerial code. So why, without a proper investigation, has the Prime Minister defended the Home Secretary, calling her fantastic and saying he absolutely has confidence in her? It's not enough just to refer this to the Cabinet Office. The government must now call in an external lawyer, as quite rightly has been suggested by the Union of Senior Civil Servants, the 1st Division Association. A minister in breach of the ministerial code cannot remain in office and should be dismissed. These, Mr. Speaker, are just the latest in a series of allegations that suggest an unacceptable pattern of behaviour. According to reports in our media, a number of the Home Office clashes had involved demands from the Home Secretary, some of which were considered illegal by officials. Illegal by officials, Mr. Speaker. Most disturbingly, the Home Secretary reportedly asked officials to reverse a court ruling halting the deportation of 25 individuals to Jamaica last month. If that's the case, wasn't the case that the Home Secretary was trying to push officials to breaching a ruling by the Court of Appeal? Is it now this government's policy to bully officials into flouting court rulings? Isn't the truth, Mr Speaker, that this is a government led by bullies, presided over by a part-time Prime Minister, who not only can't be bothered to turn up, but simply won't take the vital action required when the very integrity and credibility of the government is on the line?